All right, of course. So we're dropping this podcast on Monday morning. So tonight, you're checking this thing out on Monday when this aired. Which I hate if you check the podcast out on Tuesday. Oh, well, maybe you can get some information you didn't know about me. But anyways, come to you on Monday, of course, and the college football playoff national championship game. TCU and Georgia, they're playing out in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium, the new palace there for the Rams and the Chargers out there in Los Angeles. So obviously, I did not pick this game last week because I was going to do this today here on Monday. And going into this game, look, Georgia's a 12.5 point favorite. The over under is 63.5 coming to you, as I said, in the open, recording this late on Sunday night. And just looking at this game, how do you determine who you think is going to win here? Look, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Georgia should be the favorite. What they've done coming off a tough win against Ohio State, that felt like a national championship game between Georgia and Ohio State. That felt like the best two teams in the country playing. I know Michigan fans, you beat Ohio State, but when you just look at talent for talent, and then Ohio State really played up to their full potential in that game. They just made a few little mistakes toward the end, and Georgia was able to win. Really, I said this last week, it felt like Georgia was outplayed by Ohio State. Well, it did feel like TCU was the better team on that day against Michigan. I don't think Georgia for the whole game was the better team than Ohio State, but they came away with a victory. Stetson Bennett made the plays at the end to win the game. So, what are the keys for TCU and Georgia? Stetson Bennett, he cannot make mistakes. He has to play more consistent. I'm not going to say play better. He played a really good football game in the semifinal against Ohio State, but consistency because he played well early, and then middle part of the game he struggled. And it really felt like at the end of the first half, that second down throw where he almost threw an interception, then Georgia just said, okay, we're going to sit on it. We're down a few points to Ohio State. We do not need to get an opportunity to go up by 2 scores, which is get out of here. And then Stetson Bennett really did not feel like he was in rhythm for much of that second half until the fourth quarter when they had to make a play, when they got down by 14, 38-24 in that game. And then he made the plays necessary, and they came away with the win. Hit Arian Smith on the big touchdown, and then, of course, the game went touchdown there as well in the game. But he's got to be – I think he needs to be consistent throughout. I think that's going to be key. And the line of scrimmage is going to be huge on both sides because going into the TCU Michigan game, yours truly over here when I made my pick on that game, I did not think TCU could match up physically with Michigan. Michigan had bulldozed through most teams all year. No one had been able to run the ball on them all season long. Now, TCU was able to run on Michigan for 263 yards with Kendre Miller and Amari DeMarcado. Now, Miller got hurt in that game, and it looks like, just from things, he's probably going to be a game-time decision in the national championship game, so it could be all on DeMarcado, which, of course, Max Duggan is a good runner as well. And C.J. Stroud had some success against Georgia running the ball, which was something we really did not see all year from C.J. Stroud. So if I'm TCU, I'm looking at, okay, Max Duggan is not as athletic as C.J. Stroud, but he's a very capable runner. We've seen him make plays with his legs all season long. So he maybe can help them out in that area too as well. And for TCU, it's going to be key. Even if you're struggling to run the ball, look, there's Jalen Carter at the middle, and he looked gassed at times against Ohio State. Can TCU kind of up the tempo? And if this is a 3-4 quarter game, maybe that once again happens with Georgia. And we're just playing a little over a week now, so not a lot of time to rest up and get ready for this one. So that's something maybe you could see there because, like I said, Max Duggan, he is a running quarterback. Then you could hit maybe Quentin Johnson over the top because the last 2 games it's been shown that you can throw on this Georgia team. They've given up 15 passing touchdowns all season, 7 in the last 2 games against LSU in the SEC championship game, against Ohio State in the Peach Bowl in the semifinal. LSU had 500 yards in the SEC championship game, and I remember we did the podcast with Jay Stevens and Palmer Thomas, but it was more on the video with Jay. A lot of Georgia fans saying, no, that's not going to happen. They were playing back on them. The game was over. It was 35-7, blah, 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 blah. And I was kind of like, let's just hold up. That game against LSU, Jaden Daniels, was very successful throwing the ball early, pull him out because he was hurt. And then Nussmeier comes in and he lights you up too as well. So I'm just saying you need to hold up on that commentary, Georgia fans. And it was true. CJ Stroud had a big game, 68% completion percentage, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns in that game, and also the running ability of him and what they was able to do with the receivers in that game. They could not guard Marvin Harrison Jr. early in the game until he got hurt. So when you look at Quentin Johnson for TCU, yes, he's not looked at the caliber of what you saw at Ohio State, but he's a very good receiver, a receiver that will play on Sundays. So I will be curious to see, does Georgia have some of those things cleaned up? Now I'm going to say this as well, and if there's any TCU fans checking this out, checking this video out, or checking the podcast out, I'm going to say this, and you're probably not going to say, you outplayed Michigan, but Michigan gave up some opportunities too as well. That first possession where Michigan goes for the Philly special on 4th down, I still say kick the field goal, you go up 3-0. You get the momentum on that one. And the turnovers. Now, while Stetson Bennett and this Georgia team has been not prone, but they have at times this season got a little careless with the football, you can't rely on that, especially going against Georgia team. And they're going to have that buttoned up. And I'm just saying, Michigan they put TCU in a lot of great opportunities. Now, TCU pounced on them. They took advantage of those opportunities. And that's why I say they were the better team, because better teams always take advantage of those situations. The bad teams do not. And TCU was better in that game against Michigan. I don't feel like Georgia is going to give you those opportunities. But I do feel like TCU will make some big plays here. But also, we saw Michigan scored 39 points in the second half against TCU. There was a lot of times guys were getting beat downfield. They couldn't guard the receivers. I think this is going to be a big opportunity for A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, and also Arian Smith to make some big plays. Brock Bowers over the middle. I think that's going to be big too. I think Stetson Bennett is probably going to have even a better game against TCU than he did against Ohio State. And another key factor of this too as well, look, when you have a month to prepare, you can scheme guys open. You can figure some stuff out. Well, we're looking at this. This thing was played not this Saturday, but the previous. So you're looking at what? That was 10 days ago. So it's compressed. It's really like a more during the season. You play a team, the next week play somebody else. So you don't have that month prepared to really dive into the film and figure out what you're going to do here. I mean, these are really two good coaching staffs, Sonny Dykes and what Kirby Smart does at Georgia. But I also think that's going to be a very key thing in here. So obviously, I would hope TCU was only focused on Michigan. You weren't going ahead watching Georgia film. I don't know, maybe they did, but I doubt that was the case. But that's another factor to me. This being just kind of like just a week, I think that favors Georgia. TCU can't draw up some stuff special because you just don't have the same amount of time preparing for this game as you did the last game. TCU's got some good players defense though. They really showed out against Michigan. They were able to get some pressure on J.J. McCarthy. D. Winters was big. He's good to get to the quarterback, putting pressure, and he also had to pick 6. So Georgia's going to clean that up because they can make some plays. But I say all that. I think TCU does make some big plays in this game. I think they cause some tense moments. I believe this game gets into the middle of the third quarter, close to the fourth quarter, close. But I think at the end of the day, Georgia will pull away at the end of the third quarter, early into the fourth quarter. I think Georgia's going to win this game 41-28. So there's the cover, the 12.5. But I think this game is close for about 3 quarters, but then Georgia will pull away, do what they do, lean on you with their running game, their 3-headed monster running back. I think Stetson Bennett will walk away with the MVP trophy. And if you're Georgia, you win back-to-back titles. In my opinion, you surpassed Alabama. You are the new standard of college football. So the Georgia Bulldogs, they're going to win them another national championship.